Have you ever sat in a meeting, virtual or in person, wondering if you'd accidentally stumbled into some twisted social experiment? You listen to a so-called leader belittle their team in front of everyone, or witness a smirking coworker who seems to feed off of everyone else's misery. At first, you might think, maybe I'm imagining this, or it's just a bad day. But deep down, you know, there's a jerk in the room, and they're having a field day at your expense. Welcome to a world where people lose hours ranting on social media about microaggressions, toxic Slack messages, and covert narcissists in office group chats. If you think this is a fresh new hell unique to our 21st century reality, think again. Toxic behaviors have been around forever. They've just gone digital. And it's exactly this timeless yet modern problem that organizational psychologist Robert Sutton attacks head-on with his blunt insights and unapologetic language. Get ready, because what you're about to hear isn't just another sanitized HR guide. Sutton's perspective is the sort that might make your boss cringe, especially if said boss has a habit of sending passive-aggressive emails at 11 p.m. If you're ready to armor up against the jerks of the world, and maybe even rescue your sanity in the process, stick around, hit that like button, and subscribe to the channel. This is where we dive into everything from the comedic to the downright maddening realities of dealing with toxic people in modern life. Before we unpack the survival guide, let's talk about the man behind the curtain. Robert Sutton isn't a stuffy researcher in an ivory tower who's never stepped foot in a corporate war zone. Sure, he's got the fancy degrees, a top-tier professorship at Stanford, and a CV thick enough to make the average PhD candidate sob in envy. But what sets him apart is his willingness to embrace real, raw truths about human behavior at work. Years ago, Sutton gained notoriety with his candidly titled book, The No Asshole Rule, a rallying cry against relentless bullies in the workplace. Imagine pitching that title to your publisher. Hey, let's call out jerks for exactly what they are, no sugarcoating. Unsurprisingly, the corporate world had mixed feelings. Some found it liberating, finally permission to say what everyone was already thinking. Others were appalled by the unprofessional language, as if the word jerk could break entire supply chains more than actual jerk behavior does. Sutton's interest in organizational psychology formed from observing how a single individual's negativity could ripple through entire teams. When he realized academia lacked direct pragmatic frameworks for dealing with these toxic super spreaders, he decided to fill the gap. He studied office dynamics, psychological research, and interviews with employees who'd survived horrific workplaces. The result, the Asshole Survival Guide, a no-nonsense manual that's now recommended in workplaces worldwide, sometimes quietly, like contraband people share in secret Slack DMs. Of course, modern controversies swirl around Sutton's approach. HR departments sometimes claim his language is too brash. Certain big-name executives have reportedly refused to let him speak at their offices, fearing he'd call them out. In a digital era where one negative Glassdoor review can cost you serious talent, there's a lot at stake in acknowledging you have a jerk problem. Yet Sutton remains unwavering, insisting that ignoring toxicity is far more dangerous than calling it what it is. So what exactly does Sutton mean by jerk? He's not talking about someone who forgets to fill the coffee pot or occasionally sends an abrupt email at 3 a.m. Instead, jerk refers to anyone who chronically makes other people feel demeaned, humiliated, or helpless. It's the boss who says things like, "Wow, maybe try using your brain next time," in front of the entire team. It's the coworker who sweet-talks management but then backstabs every unsuspecting colleague when the boss's head is turned. Sutton's research outlines multiple archetypes: the kiss-up, kick-down, warm and cuddly to higher-ups, savage to everyone else. The spotlight hog dominates every meeting, often dismissing anyone else's ideas as rookie nonsense. The gaslighter, so skilled at rewriting history that you start to doubt your own sanity. The credit stealer happily soaks up praise for other people's work. The micromanager disguises their controlling streak as paying close attention to detail, but really they're just making you question whether you can tie your own shoes. In modern life, this toxicity goes way beyond the office cubicle. Think about remote collaboration tools, Slack, Microsoft Teams, Zoom, where you can't even roll your eyes in peace without someone screenshotting your video feed. Toxic individuals might message you at bizarre hours, escalate trivial issues into full-blown crises, or hold Slack conversations so combative you need a flame-retardant keyboard. Online communications can amplify negativity, letting it spread faster than any physical rumor mill ever did. Even trickier, certain people exhibit jerk behaviors in small, subtle ways. They might phrase every remark with a condescending "kindly" or "just to clarify," but you feel the sting behind the words. Others, ironically, might champion positivity while essentially trying to muzzle any real feedback. Sutton warns that identifying a jerk begins with how you feel. If you consistently walk away from interactions feeling belittled or drained, pay attention. That alone is worth investigating. If dealing with a single jerk were just a small inconvenience, we could all brush it off with a groan and a stiff drink at happy hour. But Sutton points out that the damage goes far deeper. Chronic exposure to toxic behavior can cause stress levels to skyrocket, sabotaging sleep, damaging your immune system, and elevating your blood pressure. Think it's just in your head? Not quite. Studies link hostile work environments to serious health complications over the long haul, from anxiety disorders to increased risk of heart disease. It's not just personal health at stake. Jerks can single-handedly poison an entire team's morale, leading to high turnover rates and productivity collapses. Perhaps you've witnessed it. Once a toxic leader sets the standard, other people either leave or, worse, adapt to that negativity, breeding a culture where everyone's either a bully or too burned out to care. You end up with a place that churns out more resentment than results. Modern technology makes this even more potent. A single snark-filled group email can spin out of control, turning a minor misunderstanding into a digital war that drains everyone's time. Or think about social media. An offhand Twitter spat between colleagues can create real tensions in the workplace that never fully resolve. Now that many teams work remotely, there's no water cooler for forging genuine friendships to offset tension. Your coworker might exist only as a tiny Zoom square with a big attitude. Sutton reveals that toxic contagion is the real monster under the bed. You might assume one jerk can't possibly transform a whole organization, but negativity is like black mold. It creeps into hidden corners, thriving where there's little accountability. If leadership shrugs it off with, "Well, that's just how Dave is," the entire culture eventually mutates. Suddenly, you're in a place where department heads are dueling in Slack channels, interns are quietly job-searching 3 weeks in, and you're mentally drafting your exit strategy every time your phone buzzes with a new Slack notification. Whenever someone decides to label certain people as jerks, critics line up to take shots. Is it too crude, too simplistic? Could you accidentally brand someone who's just having a bad day? Sutton acknowledges these concerns, but counters that delicate language often emboldens bullies, who then operate unchecked because no one is willing to say, "Your behavior sucks, and we won't tolerate it." He's also faced allegations that his books give readers the green light to play armchair psychologist, slapping a toxic label on anyone who rubs them the wrong way. Sutton's stance is more nuanced. He advises looking for patterns of disrespect and cruelty over time, not condemning someone for one outburst. Context matters. An overworked parent snapping after a 16-hour shift is different from the manager who systematically humiliates employees for months. Some companies, according to rumors, have banned Sutton's works from internal training resources, fearing they'd spark uprisings against upper management. There's buzz that certain well-known corporations tried to bury references to the no-asshole rule in official communications. Branding it as counterculture, critics retort that employees are grown-ups who can handle direct language, and that if a company fears open dialogue about bullying, it might have bigger issues to address. Others question Sutton's frequent use of humor. They worry that joking about serious issues diminishes their gravity. Sutton's response: laughter can be a lifeline, especially when you're trapped in a soul-sapping environment. It's a tool to cope, to dismantle power plays, and to help people speak candidly without launching a civil war in the break room. Like any tool, though, humor can backfire if it crosses into mockery or cruelty. Sutton warns that if you're not careful, you risk becoming the jerk you set out to defeat. All right, so you've identified the jerk. You're sure it's not just you overreacting. Now what? Sutton lays out multiple strategies, and you can pick your weapon based on how dire the situation is. Distance yourself. The simplest, though not always easiest, approach is to get out. If this person is your direct manager and their behavior is making you consider spiking your coffee with something stronger just to get through the day, it might be time to switch teams, departments, or even companies. Sutton doesn't pretend this is painless, but sometimes self-preservation demands a swift exit. Cognitive reframing. If running away isn't an option, or if the jerk is your mother-in-law, good luck escaping that, Sutton suggests reframing their behavior in your own mind. Instead of internalizing their insults, view their nastiness as a sign of their insecurity or fear. This doesn't mean letting them off the hook. It means stepping outside their emotional games so they can't make you doubt yourself. Empathy and forgiveness. This part seems counterintuitive. Why should you empathize with a jerk? Because it's not about them. It's about you reclaiming your mental space. When you see their tantrums as a reflection of their own issues, maybe they had a monstrous parent or they're terrified of losing status, you lessen its power to upset you. Forgiving doesn't mean forgetting or accepting more abuse. It just frees you from the swirling vortex of anger that can consume your life. Strategic resistance. Sometimes you can't afford to take the high road if a jerk is causing real documentable harm. In those cases, Sutton advises a more direct approach. Document everything. Keep records of emails, Slack messages, and time-stamped notes of problematic behavior. Find allies. Toxic individuals often rely on others keeping quiet or feeling isolated. Connecting with coworkers who share your experiences can reinforce your position when you bring the issue to HR or upper management. Stay professional. Sutton warns that if you stoop to their level, you risk looking like the aggressor. Keep your cool, compile evidence, and present it methodically. Weaponizing humor. Picture the office blowhard who hijacks every meeting to tout their brilliance. Instead of rolling your eyes or flipping them off, tempting but short-sighted, respond with a quick, witty line that highlights their absurdity. Maybe a well-placed, "You're right, my idea does sound better when you say it," delivered with a friendly smile. If done carefully, humor can flip the power dynamic, exposing their behavior for what it is without turning you into the next office villain. Collectively, these strategies help you stop internalizing the jerk's negativity. They also encourage you to be mindful of your own behavior, so you don't become a second jerk in a misguided attempt at revenge. The ultimate goal: exit the situation or transform it so that you can actually enjoy your coffee breaks and focus on doing your job without daydreaming about slashing someone's tires. Hypothetically, of course. Sutton's approach has caught the attention of entire industries. Word on the street is that some tech giants have quietly adapted a policy inspired by the no-asshole rule, effectively blacklisting managers with multiple complaints from direct reports. It's rumored that at least one big-name brand, swiftly, some say ruthlessly, ousted a high-profile executive after HR discovered a pattern of humiliating junior staff on Zoom calls. An insider claimed they stuck to the policy so strictly it was almost comedic. One slip-up and you were gone. On the flip side, there have been stories of employees misusing Sutton's advice to brand any form of constructive criticism as toxic. One ex-employee posted a fiery blog claiming their colleagues brandished the Arsehole Survival Guide like an HR Bible, shutting down valid feedback with lines like, "You're being a jerk. Your input doesn't matter." That's a misapplication of Sutton's work, but it underscores how potent these concepts can be when misinterpreted. Then there are the urban legends suggesting certain high-profile CEOs publicly disavow Sutton's language while privately adopting zero tolerance for jerks. Allegedly, some behind-closed-doors memos outline areas for improvement that echo Sutton's bullet points almost word for word. It's almost like the corporate world is using his ideas as a clandestine operating manual, but pretending to be above such bluntness. Beyond the corporate sphere, some managers in public education and healthcare have recommended Sutton's work for staff training, quietly acknowledging that bullies don't just roam Silicon Valley or high-rise offices. From a hospital ward where a senior surgeon was rumored to throw instruments at newbies, to a suburban school district where certain teachers browbeat colleagues over everything from lesson plans to lunch choices, Sutton's methods have been invoked to keep the peace. It turns out bullying has no single address. It pops up wherever there's a power imbalance. By now, you're probably thinking one of two things. Either you've recognized a jerk in your life so vividly that you're plotting a cunning exit strategy, or you're wondering if, gulp, you've been the jerk at times. The truth is, toxic behavior is insidiously easy to adopt when stress is high, empathy is low, and nobody's holding us accountable. Sutton's message? We all have to be vigilant, not just about the jerks around us, but about the potential jerk within ourselves. Remember, identifying jerks is the first step. Understanding their impact is the second. Then comes action, whether it's leaving a toxic situation, reframing it in your mind, forging alliances, or carefully calling out the nonsense with a well-timed wisecrack. The beauty of Sutton's strategy is that it returns the power to you. You're not some helpless pawn in a corporate cage fight. You have options, you have moves, and you're not alone in wanting something better. Here's the final twist. Letting jerks roam free isn't just bad for the people they hurt directly, it's bad for everyone. When we enable their behavior, we let negativity overshadow innovation, creativity, and actual progress. If you won't challenge the jerk in your orbit, who will? And how many more people will they push around before someone finally steps up? So if you found all this enlightening, or at least entertaining enough to distract you from your coworker's 500th passive-aggressive Slack ping, share your own experiences in the comments. We've all got that story. Maybe it was the boss who demanded you respond to emails at 2 a.m., or the teammate who once told you, sure, you can finish that, if you were actually competent. Venting is therapeutic, but even better is forging solutions, helping each other recognize red flags, and figuring out which method, Sutton's or otherwise, can set us free. Thank you for sticking around to the end of this wild journey. Let's keep the conversation going. It's time to stand up to the jerks, call them out, and protect the spaces where kindness, creativity, and basic human decency can flourish. And hey, if that means the next time your toxic coworker tries to undermine you in a Zoom meeting, you show off your new comedic clapback skills, so be it. As Sutton might say, life is short, too short to let some jerk ruin your day. Stay sharp, stay kind, and don't be afraid to fight back when you need to.